Prison can be a menacing place for child molesters, like the former Roman Catholic priest John Geoghegan, who was killed in his cell, or for other alleged pedophile priests working their way through the criminal justice system. If you take out a sex offender like this former priest in Massachusetts, maybe the person who took him out thought he'd make a name of himself, said Margot Bach, a spokeswoman for California Department of Corrections. Taking a pedophile out would gain the killer a lot more respect among the other inmates. In fact, Geoghegan's accused killer, Joseph Druce, looked upon Father Geoghegan as a prize and plotted his killing for a month. Such offenders, including Geoghegan, often are placed into protective custody with other prisoners seen to be under a threat. Once their crime has become known, they usually don't make it without protective custody, said Lieutenant Ken Lewis, a corrections officer and spokesman at California's Los Angeles County State Prison. There's a lot of pedophiles that can successfully make it. As long as they don't brag about their offense, if they do talk, they'll get beat up. In some places, he may even get his throat cut, Lewis added. For incarcerated sex offenders, every day can be a grueling battle for survival. Learning how to navigate the prison world as a sex offender is a daunting journey. Imagine, if you will, the world within high and medium security federal prisons, where sex offenders often find themselves in a relentless storm of harassment, attacks, and brutalization. It's a disturbing truth that within the prison culture, this treatment can be not only tolerated, but even expected, if not officially supported by the administration. This creates a dire predicament for sex offenders who, more often than not, must resort to a grim choice for their safety: checking in to the special housing unit, a form of solitary confinement. If you like these type of content, then don't forget to subscribe our channel for more videos. Also hit the like button. Let's continue further. What happens when sex offenders choose not to take refuge in these harsher, isolated confines? Their fate takes an even darker turn. They may become victims of a brutal practice known as being beat off a yard. This is when a group of fellow inmates, driven by a chilling code of conduct, knock the sex offender to the ground, often in the most public of places, such as the chow hall or right before the watchful eyes of prison guards. It's a harrowing moment, a stark signal to those in authority that the sex offender is in grave danger and must be placed in the hole for their own protection, a form of custody known as protective custody. In some cases, they might even be transferred to a different facility altogether. These grim truths paint a stark picture of the challenges sex offenders face in prison, where survival becomes a daily struggle. This is a world where choices are often stark and danger lurks around every corner, and for those inside, it's a story of harsh realities and the fight for self-preservation. Now, let's dive into some of the harrowing experiences of inmates who have witnessed firsthand how these individuals are treated in jail. Their chilling tales will send shivers down your spine and make you question the very nature of justice within the confines of those cold, unforgiving walls. 1. Behind prison walls, a chilling code reign. Child molesters often arrive with deceptive paperwork, hiding their true crimes. Inmates follow an unwritten rule: each race must address their own. When a white sex offender hit the yard, this narrator was first to confront them. Their deep-rooted bitterness stemmed from a friend's horrific experience, suffering abuse from a family member. The narrator admitted to being involved in at least 8 altercations with child molesters and declared, "I'd do it again." 2. I was just in a high-security felony wing of jail waiting for extradition to another state, not in prison at the time. Well, the few that came in were told to go to S-Egg or get their fucking heads busted every day till they did. The one dude came in and refused to leave, was yelled at, spit on, and threatened until everyone had enough. 3 dudes ran up in his cell and threw him the most vicious beating you can imagine. I remember him crawling out of his cell and the dude pulling him back in for more. I could hear the bones breaking from 20 feet away. He died on the way to the hospital. All the guys that took part were there on murder beefs anyway, so the extra 5 years they got was worth it to them. This was an extreme case, as the jail was overpopulated and they tried to sneak the chomos, Chomo is prison slang for a child molester, and inmates and officers often claim they are at the absolute bottom of the implied prison hierarchy. Everywhere else I was incarcerated, they keep the touchers far away from us. 3. I did 6 months in CFCF, didn't even make it to Gen Pop before 2 big-ass motherfuckers from the same street found out that some Asian dude was in for touching his niece. This guy, my God, they approached him at lunch and snatched away his tray first. The bigger of the two slapped him so fucking hard, it almost hurt me while screaming, "So you like to hurt little girls?" Followed up by the man who took the tray hitting this little Asian guy with a straight-up sucker punch that laid him out flat. After that, I'm pretty sure every inmate on C block stomped his head. COs had pepper spray flying everywhere. And when all was said and done, the pedo was taken to the hospital and the rest of us didn't get dinner because we were locked down for 24 hours. That was only quarantine. The whole thing could have been avoided if there wasn't a giant whiteboard with everyone's name, inmate number, and charges written all over it. Surviving in prison as a sex offender can be a challenging task. This is particularly true at rougher medium-security federal prisons and most high-security federal prisons. We are going to cover few cases regarding how these molesters were killed in the jail by their inmates. A 41-year-old inmate named Jonathan Watson made headlines for brutally attacking 2 fellow prisoners. Watson, who is serving a life sentence for a 2009 murder conviction, took the law into his own hands on January 16th. The motive for his gruesome actions. Watson reportedly became enraged when he discovered one of the sex offenders in his facility watching a children's television show. The first victim, 48-year-old David Bobb, lost his life on the same day as the attack, while the second victim, 62-year-old Graham DeLewis Conti, passed away 3 days later. Both were serving life sentences for the aggravated sexual assault of a child under 14. In a letter, Watson explained his actions, detailing his frustration over a recent security classification change that led to his transfer from a single-person cell to a lower security dormitory pod. He claimed the move was a careless mistake and that he had protested the decision. According to Watson, 6 days after his transfer, a child molester moved into the same pod and began taunting other inmates by watching children's television programming. Unable to bear it any longer, Watson decided to take matters into his own hands. He recounted that he had urgently requested a transfer back to higher-level security just hours before the attacks, but his pleas were dismissed by a prison counselor. Fueled by anger, he took action, attacking the sex offenders with a cane. Afterward, Watson made an attempt to turn himself in, but on his way, he spotted what he referred to as a known child trafficker, and decided to confront him as well. A guard was alerted to the scene when Watson disclosed his actions, which he described as a favor to everyone. In a shocking and grisly act of what he described as poetic justice, a 30-year-old prisoner, Paul Fitzgerald, has been sentenced to a minimum of 34 years in prison for the brutal murder of Britain's worst pedophile, Richard Huckle, within the confines of HMP Full Sutton. Fitzgerald's heinous crime took place when he strangled Huckle with an electrical cable sheath, inserted a pen through his nostril into his brain, raped him, and violated him with a spoon handle during a horrific 78-minute assault in Huckle's prison cell. But the brutality didn't end there. Fitzgerald expressed a desire to go even further, admitting he would have liked to cook and consume parts of Huckle's body, and he confessed that he would have continued to kill more inmates if he hadn't been having too much fun. His chilling motive behind this gruesome act was to make Huckle, who was sentenced to 22 life terms in 2016 for an unprecedented number of child abuse offenses, experience the same pain and fear his victims had endured. On that fateful day in October, Fitzgerald armed himself with makeshift weapons, fashioned from a toothbrush and a pen, a ligature, and items to gag and bind Huckle's arms and legs. After immobilizing him, Fitzgerald subjected Huckle to an agonizing ordeal, including sexual assault, strangulation, facial injuries, broken bones, and even a pen driven so far up Huckle's nostril that it penetrated his brain. A Washington state inmate, Shane Goldsby, has been handed an additional 25-year prison sentence for the murder of his 70-year-old cellmate, Robert Munger, in June 2020. Munger was serving a 43-year prison sentence for child sex offenses. Goldsby, now 26, revealed that he snapped after enduring taunts from Munger regarding the details of the rape that Munger had committed. Details that would later prove to be true.
It sounds like this guy was like egging you on, right? He was like giving you details and like he was like...
Yeah, he was mentally fucking putting like images of what he was doing in my head.
What took you over the edge to just
when he told me what he did, when he was about the photos, about the videos, and about, you know...
It's your little sister, bro.
I'm talking about my little sis, dude, you know?
I feel that, man.
You talking about my little sis, dude, you know? You guys want to say I planned this shit, dude? I didn't plan this shit, dude.
Goldsby explained that he was struggling with his emotions, saying, "I had so much stuff going on in my head.
I changed my fucking life in 2019, you know? I gave my life to God, dude. And you guys want to put me in this fucking position, dude? To be face to face with this fucking dude that did this shit to my little sis, dude. You know, all this shit leading up, you know, with the COs and asking about my family, you know, this shit with the facility plan. You want to say I'm a hitman on the news and say I fucking planned this shit?
I wasn't stable at that point. I wasn't. I was getting to that point because Munger kept wanting to give me details about what happened, what he did, about the photos and the videos of him doing this stuff. It was building up. Despite Goldsby's efforts to request a new cellmate from the Washington Department of Corrections, it was revealed that a policy was in place to prevent such arrangements. The Department of Corrections reported that screeners had no prior knowledge of the connection between the two inmates when they were placed together, following an internal investigation. According to court documents, Goldsby launched a sudden attack on Munger from behind in the prison's communal area. He struck Munger in the face 14 times and then stomped on his head at least 4 times before walking away. In an emotional statement on Tuesday, conveyed by his attorney, Goldsby offered an apology to Munger's family. "I cannot imagine what it would be like to lose a loved one in this kind of way," the statement read. "To his wife and his whole family I apologize. I am so sorry, and I hope you are able to heal from what I caused." Prior to this incident, Goldsby was incarcerated for a 2017 incident where he stole a police vehicle, leading law enforcement on a high-speed chase that ended in a crash involving a state trooper, resulting in the trooper's injury. DeAndre Austin, a 46-year-old man, had been serving a life sentence within Mule Creek's unforgiving walls. His conviction stemmed from an unspeakable act: the continuous sexual assault of his own 3 elementary school-aged nieces during their shared time in Richmond between 2002 and 2006. His crimes included rape, lewd and lascivious conduct with a child under age 14, continuous sexual abuse. The echoes of his horrific acts reverberated through the lives of his victims, and justice had been served when he was locked away. But fate took an ominous turn on a seemingly ordinary evening. DeAndre Austin was discovered unresponsive in his cell at Mule Creek State Prison, a stark reminder of the unforgiving nature of the prison environment. The California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, CDCR, rushed to the scene in response to a man-down call. Despite their valiant efforts to save his life, it proved too late, and Austin's story came to a chilling end. Amid this unsettling turn of events, one question mark remained: Austin's cellmate, Rodney Jordan. A convicted child molester's death behind bars is always shrouded in mystery, and in this case, Jordan became a person of interest. He had been placed in segregated housing while an investigation into the incident was underway, leaving the prison population with a sense of intrigue and uncertainty. As the days passed within Mule Creek State Prison, the secrets of DeAndre Austin's demise and Rodney Jordan's involvement continued to haunt the minds of inmates. The Federal Bureau of Prisons has established the Sex Offender Management Program, SOMP, to tackle the unique challenges posed by incarcerated sexual offenders. In conclusion, the challenges faced by sex offenders in prison are as daunting as they are complex. In a world where survival becomes a daily struggle, incarcerated individuals often find themselves making unimaginable choices to protect themselves. The brutal realities of harassment, attacks, and violence that they confront behind bars are chilling, shedding light on the harsh truths of life within the prison system. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button and subscribe for more content.